Pauper, the best way to play Magic the Gathering on a budget because it's the format where only common cards are used, meaning you get to play with tier 1 decks that never rotate but only costs $20 or maybe $30 to build. It's an incredible format. Some describe even as legacy-like because it uses cards from throughout Magic's history, just at the common level, and new sets often have new treats for it. And speaking of new sets, Pauper got a lot from March of the Machine, the newest set, but you know one thing it didn't get? A reprint of Snuff Out. Snuff Out is the simple common card that recently found some home in actual Legacy, and as a result has shot up as high as $20 for some printings. A $20 common? Who the heck does Snuff Out think they are? Oubliette? Well, reprint Snuff Out, you cowards! Snuff Out was actually the card that Ristic Studies kept drawing again and again in his Pauper game against Spice 8 Rack.
Would you like to snuff out my 1/1?
Well, I was gonna ask, if you name one card in the history of Magic the Gathering, what would it be?
You know what? If I could pick any card.
Yeah.
Snuff Out.
Oh, shoot.
What?
How did you see the future like that? For 4 mana, I can cast Snuff Out, which destroys target non-black creature. It can't be regenerated.
And I really do hope that Snuff Out sees a reprint soon, because the last thing Pauper needs is a single common card that costs more than, well, a couple of bucks is fine. That's what makes the format so great. But even though it wasn't reprinted in March of the Machine, there were a lot of new bombastic additions added to the format from this new set. Presented here are my top 5 picks for most powerful new commons from March of the Machine, likely to see play in the Pauper format. But first, have you ever dreamed about having delicious food delivered directly into your mouth? Well, that may still be a dream, but today I bring you the next best thing. Factor. Factor is delicious meals delivered to your door, and then you can get them from your door and very quickly get them in your mouth, because Factor is ready to eat and enjoy anytime. Factor delivers nutritious food and fast, but you know what? Factor is not just more of that unhealthy and overpriced fast food that you've likely been shoving in your face. You see, Factor helps you avoid fast food and ordering in with no-nonsense, delicious food that's ready quickly. Factor's chef-prepared meals take the guesswork out of eating well, so you never have to opt for something that isn't good for you. Perfect for Magic the Gathering players and gamers of all kinds. Convenience never felt so good. Factor's no-hassle prepared foods make sure you always have something nutritious on hand when you don't have time to think about making lunch or dinner. Grab a prepared smoothie or keto shake for a quick snack, or heat and eat a chef-quality meal in just 2 minutes with no prep or cleanup necessary, so you can stay focused on what you love to do. Factor cuts out stressful meal planning and extensive prepping, so meals come together in minutes, taking the guesswork out of what to make for breakfast or lunch or dinner. Factor even offers meals for those looking to follow keto, low-calorie or vegetarian lifestyles, all of it. So use my link or go to go.factor75.com and use code POG TCCAPR50 for 50% off your first box. Once you click, my description will live update to count up the purchases. You'll be glad you did. Thank you, Factor, for sponsoring this video. So even though Snuff Out was not reprinted in March of the Machine, the set did bring with it some really cool additions for the Pauper format, and presented here are the top 5 most powerful commons that I expect to see play in Pauper. But first, an honorable mention of a card that I do not think is going to see play, but is worth talking about. That card is Ragavan Nimble Pilferer. Ragavan Nimble Pilferer is a card that is almost $75 in price. A legendary monkey pirate, whenever Ragavan Nimble Pilferer deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast that card. Ragavan also has dash for 1 and a red, which means Ragavan gains haste but is returned from the battlefield to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Now, Ragavan is a mythic, so why am I talking about Ragavan in this list of commons? Well, that's because there's a card in March of of the machine that is reminiscent of Ragavan, only at common. And that card is Beamtown Beatstick. Obviously, this is not Ragavan, but check out some of the similarities. Costs a single red, gives target creature +1/+0 and has menace, but look at this. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Now that also happens whenever combat damage is dealt to a battle, but there are no battles at common, so that's irrelevant in this discussion. Its equipped cost is 2. And if you look at this with your head tilted and one of your eyes closed, it kind of looks like a strictly worse Ragavan that you can put on a creature of your choice, mostly gaining the treasure token and swapping out the dash and haste for the nice menace effect. Now I want to be clear, I do not think this is going to see Pauper play. Maybe if it was a creature and not an equipment, or if its equip cost was lower or something along those lines, but I still wanted to talk about it because I think it's amazing that we've taken even a little bit of what makes Ragavan so great and printed it all the way down here at common. A lot of people have said that this set, especially at the common level, doesn't have anything of note, but I just don't agree with that. There's a lot of powerful cards, and in some ways, the fact that they're experimenting with things like Beamtown Beatstick shows that while Wizards of the Coast does not test and design for Pauper, the common rarity is far from trash. Let's take a look at the actual top 5 most powerful cards I think we'll see play in the Pauper format. And speaking of innovation, number 5 certainly is that. It's Seed of Hope. A single green for an instant that reads, mill 2 cards. You may put a permanent card from among the milled cards into your hand. You gain 2 life. This is a great effect in green, and at instant speed no less. But I am forced to put it at the very bottom of the list because, as many Pauper players ask the question, where exactly does this go? The answer is, I don't know. Taking a look at Pauper decks that run spells like Commune with the Gods, the biggest target I looked at would be Tortured Existence, the Golgari All-Star deck built around the improbably common Tortured Existence card. The problem is that Commune is not upgraded by this in any way, save maybe for gaining that 2 life, which is relevant only because red is so rampant. The truth is that grabbing a creature is what you want to be doing in Tortured Existence, as well as many other similar decks. And what's worse is that if you're running 3 to 4 copies of this in your deck, Seed of Hope has a very strong chance to mill itself, meaning you might end up with a total whiff instead of a hit. I'd really rather have traded that life gain for extra self-mill. A couple more cards would have been nice, or some other upside to the graveyard interaction. Even Reanimator lists that want to self-mill aren't going to have much in the way of targets that they want to return to hand. As with most common oddities, it will likely find a home in new rogue decks, casual brews, or surprise builds of the future. I definitely think it's a card that will be talked about and seen in Pauper, but like many of those new commons, it's still waiting for the next set to bring it a new deck archetype that's going to really give it a home. Coming in at number 4 on our list is a big green meanie, and if you're not already playing big and green and mean in Pauper, this beast of a card just might convert you. It's Converter Beast, a Phyrexian beast for 3 and a green that reads, when Converter Beast enters the battlefield, incubate 5. I'm sorry, does that say incubator 5? 5? For those not yet familiar, this means you create an incubator token with 5 +1/+1 counters on it, and spend 2 of any color, transform this artifact. It transforms into a 0/0 Phyrexian artifact creature. And this effect, it happens upon entering the battlefield. You know what we have in Pauper? A little old card called Ephemerate. Oh my god, have I told you how much I hate Ephemerate? Well, if you don't already agree with me on that, then Converter Beast might just change your mind. Blinking this a couple times is going to outpace and overpower your opponents, and fast. The only reason this is lower on the list is that it is a rather expensive combo to set up, and in Selesnya colors to boot. But just the same, the value here might be enough to take a second look at everything from proliferate commons to other blink effects. And while I don't think Mono Green Stompy or Hexproof are going to fall out of favor just because of this card, it's likely to find a home in Selesnya mid-range decks emerging due to the overwhelming force of this Converter Beast. Alright, number 3 is Seed of Hope. Or rather, I should say number 3 is Seed of Hope done right. Take it out of green, put it into black, and increase the mill. It's Unseal the Necropolis. For 2 of any color and a black, this instant says each player mills 3 cards, then you return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Now that is indeed indeed Seed of Hope done right. Milling 3, hitting not 1 but 2 creatures, and good old instant speed. Obviously, the first big competitor to this card that most can think of is going to be Urborg Repossession, which can grab a creature for just 1 mana, and when kicked, grab another permanent, not even having to be a creature type, but a permanent. Plus, it has that added life gain, which, as I mentioned, is really nice in this burn-heavy meta. But I view Unseal the Necropolis as an absolute powerhouse for a deck such as Dimir Tellarian Terror, propelling this already strong list into even further energized waters. Since Unseal only returns creatures and is itself an instant, with a single cast you can reduce Tellarian Terror's cast cost, all while potentially grabbing back anything from a Philology Archaeologist or even a big old Gurmag Angler. Oh yeah, and that mill helps cast the Angler again. I think this is a really good card, a great card. And it's going to slot into everything from those Dimir Tellarian Terror lists to even fun Reanimator strategies, and all while doing what Seed of Hope should have really done. Alright, we're down to the top 2 most powerful new common cards for Pauper from March of the Machine. What can they be? Well, there's something very interesting and unusual here to see. Our number 2 card is a reprint. Yay, reprints! Wait a second, how is a number 2 card a reprint on a list of new cards for Pauper? Well, that's because our number 2 slot is Reckless Impulse, which is really just Wren's Resolve. Wren's Resolve, 1 in a red, sorcery, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. It's literally just Reckless Impulse. Why is this, of all things, the number 2 pick? Because Pauper decks can now run up to 8 copies of Reckless Impulse, which is great because we're already running a full playset in most Kuldotha lists, and who wouldn't want to run 5 or even 6, 7 copies of this without having a judge called on them? Double sleeve those Monastery Swift Spears and Lightning Bolts because they're about to see even more play than they already do. Mono Red is currently dominating the Pauper format, finally ending years of jokes about how Pauper is the format of blue decks and blue decks only. Now our stages are lit up, and with blasts of fire we give even more card draw to already oppressive decks. So as the dust settles and we are left with just 1 common card left for Pauper from March of the Machine, what is it? What can it be? Well, spoiler alert, it's blue. The number 1 best new card for Pauper overall is, surprise, surprise, a blue card, and it's Meeting of Minds, an instant for 3 and a blue, which lets you draw 2 cards. Before you think that's too pricey, note that it has Convoke, meaning your creatures can tap to pay the mana cost. And yes, that includes blue creatures paying its blue casting cost, so if you have 4 creatures in play, it's a free draw 2 cards. Well, not quite on the level of Thoughtcast and Affinity, as Convoke requires our creatures to tap. The fact that this is an instant means we can wait until our opponent's end step when any pressure is on us to keep our forces vigilant, then tap into a potential 2-card draw for, again, free, or maybe if you're a little pressed for creatures, only 1 blue mana? Mono Blue Fairies is a deck that already puts a lot of boots on the ground, or rather wings in the air, though holding back from attacks isn't exactly a path to victory. I can also see new decks emerging from this, which is always great, with some really exciting possibilities in Izzet, or possibly even Azurius. I could even see some weird Affinity hybrid, taking advantage of the now 8 copies of Frogmite that exist thanks to Halo Hopper, who didn't quite make the top 5 list, but is so cool and so cute that I had to work him in somewhere. Seriously, we now have essentially 8 Frogmites. I know it's not quite a Frogmite, but it's close. And with Frogmites and artifact lands everywhere, free draws and 1 blue draws, it all means Affinity is going to turn major card value into success. Well, more so than it already is doing. Or, work with me here. Okay, this is a long shot. I admit it's a long shot, but there's no Merfolk in Pauper currently. But imagine the value of using Storybrooke Schoolmaster, tapping to Convoke, getting tokens, those tokens tap to Convoke. Pauper Merfolk turns into a thing, maybe? Oh no, who am I kidding? But a Schoolmaster such as myself can dream, can't he? Hashtag downshift Marrow Reedry to common. Pauper is still a rapidly growing format in popularity, and can you blame people? It's the format where for just a small amount of money you can build a tier 1 deck that isn't going to rotate, and that if something does happen to get banned out of, well, I know, it cost you what maybe 1 card in your commander deck did? These were just my top 5 picks, but now I want to hear from you. What new common cards do you think are going to see play in Pauper? What decks do you love to jam with friends or at your local game store? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, whether you are buying copies of these new common cards or just grabbing a few sets of Snuff Out before they continue to climb up in price, reprint Snuff Out, you cowards! When it is possible, when it is reasonable to do so, try and spend that money where you spend time playing this great game, and that's at your local game store. You're supporting your Magic the Gathering community when you do.
And I know what's in your hand, so I don't need to ask for the results.
Recite it. Are you sure you know what's in me hand?
You have a Snuff Out, a Ninja of the Deep Hours, and a Spell Stutter Sprite.
Like a true academic.
Goddamn right, goddamn right.
Hey, and remember, if you are done with unhealthy fast food and overpriced delivery, maybe it's time to check out Factor. Factor is delicious meals delivered to your door, ready to eat and enjoy anytime. So use my link or go to go.factor75.com and use code POG, TCC APR 50 for 50% off your first box. Once you click, my description will live update to count up the purchases. You'll be glad you did. Thank you, Factor, for sponsoring this video.
Next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
Today, we are playing with $50 budget decks. It's Budget Commander with Budget Commander.
Hi, my name is Tomer from MTG Goldfish. My commander is Min, Wily Illusionist.
Yeah, hi, I'm Joey. I am playing my baby lasagna.
My name is Alec, and today I'm playing Satoru Umezawa.
My commander is Helena and Elena. So these are what Canadians call biscuits.
No, these are what Canadians call bribes.
Excuse me.
All right, that needs to die just so that reference can die.
I didn't want you to draw 14 cards. That's a lot of
But
cards.
Joey,
Just to send a message, attack you with my Ornithopter.
no way.
What?
What?
For 0.
I'm a method actor. I'm like Christian Tesseract. Dale.